Hello everyone, I'm Hope Atkins and I'm Ms. Vegas 4A period. Today we'll be talking about distinguishing your variables and how they're used. So the variables we'll talk about today are your independent variable, your dependent, your controlled variable, and your control groups. So today, we have a graph right here. This is your y-axis and this is your x-axis. You can see that your x-axis is labeled as your independent variable and your y is labeled as your dependent variable. So our couple topics today are going to be, does the amount of sugar content affect plant growth, and does speed affect your heart rate? So pretty simple questions that you can clearly answer. So during experiments, the factor that you are changing or testing is called your independent variable. Your independent variable or manipulated variable is something that you are purposefully changing. So anything you could be changing, like the amount of sunlight a plant receives, or how much water, or the distance you can throw a ball. Different stuff like that. So when identifying your independent variable in a graph or table, it'll always be your y-axis, as you can see right here. So when breaking down your question, your independent variable would be the first part of your problem. So the first one would be the amount of sugar. Your amount of sugar would be your independent variable, because in trial 1 you could have 30 grams of sugar. In trial 2 you could have 15, and so on. So in your second problem, speed will be your independent variable, because you can go faster or slower depending on which you're testing. So your second type of variable is your dependent variable. Your dependent variable is something that must be able to be measured, and it is your results of your independent variable. You can identify your dependent variable in graphs by looking at your y-axis label. So as you see right here, and in our problems, your first dependent variable is the plant growth. Your plant growth would be your dependent variable, because that is the measure, that's what is being measured of the sugar content. So as the sugar content as it changes, how does it help or hurt the plant? And your heart rate would be the dependent variable of speed, because if you slow down, will your heart rate slow down? Or if you increase the speed, how faster will your heart rate increase? So those are only our first two variables. So our remaining variables are your control and your controlled variables. So these are often mixed up because of the names of control and controlled. So your controlled variable are the quantities that are kept the same throughout all trials. For example, amount of water, fertilizer, maybe the environment like a room, or maybe even a type of seed that you're testing. Looking at the second question, maybe the distance covered can be controlled, or the type of surface that the vehicle is traveling on. So if it's concrete, everything is traveling on concrete. Or it could be like grass or dirt, stuff like that. So for our last variable is your control group. Your control group are the type of products that are not being messed with. So these materials won't be altered by your independent variable, because they are being the natural ingredients. Like, people would prefer this over the artificial stuff or the inorganic stuff. So that pretty much analyzes the type of variables in an experiment. But just for a summary or analyzation, we'll review again. Your independent variable are the factors that are being changed on purpose. Your dependent variable is the result of your independent variable that must be measurable. If it cannot be measurable, it cannot be your dependent variable. Your controlled variable are the quantity amount that are kept the same. So if you have 3 glasses of water in trial 1, you must have 3 glasses of water in trial 2 and 3, and if you have more. Your control group are the materials that are not being affected by your independent variable. So, for example, a glass of warm water, through all of them, you're inserting the different things inside that glass of water, and your glass of water will always be the same because it's just warm water. But that concludes our video. Thank you all for listening, and I hope that helped you. I hope that helped you learn about variables.